Travel is not going to be easy in countless areas because of Winter Storm Harper.
Now, occasionally, this polar vortex will weaken. It can split into 2 or 3, allowing the cold air to collapse down, warm rapidly, hence the term sudden stratospheric warming.
So the moon is set to slip into the Earth's shadow.
I'd like a snowstorm. This is starting to get ridiculous. Where's the snow?
Ghost, what's wrong?
Snow over to sleet, freezing rain, and then rain.
Here it comes.
And then we get into trouble.
Now, the flash freeze part of it is interesting.
The cold coming behind the storm is also going to have a huge impact.
The cold air coming in behind the front is going to drop temperatures like a rock. So there could be wet roads and just wet things that could ice over very quickly with that intrusion of Arctic air, essentially.
Instant freeze after inches of rain. This ain't no game. Okay, great. Yeah, I got blood moon fever. It's driving me crazy.
We've got a video message.
I'm gonna have to science the shit out of this.
Hit the button, baby. Stay cool. This is a Thor News presentation. Thor News presents. Welcome to the story of fire and ice.
You can see all the winter storm warnings that are up in anticipation for, again, the heavy snow.
More than 111 million Americans under some form of winter weather alert.
It'll be a crippling storm for some.
There'll be blizzard conditions across inland areas.
This is a unique combination of heavy snow, conceivably even up to 40 inches of snow, combined with very strong winds, gale force winds, and temperatures then plummeting to 0 or below.
And we're looking at all of these places with below 0 wind chills.
20, minus 25, minus 30. This kind of storm doesn't come along very often.
And even the threat for some coastal flooding, especially for coastal towns like Boston.
And it's a severe storm and represents a risk to life and limb.
Even areas that get rain with this storm, there will be a rapid freeze.
And it can happen just that fast.
Hello there. We have a very changeable weather pattern across North America.
The shutdown continues.
This weekend, a lot of people are going to be affected by this.
You may be forgiven for thinking it's all down to that sudden stratospheric warming we've been talking about. But remember, no two SSW events are the same.
And where the ground is wet, we're going to see freezing taking place. So very icy conditions will be coming up as we continue to go through this storm.
Some icing. Many of you will see multiple different types of precipitations.
And again, it's all a very tricky forecast.
And it's going to be changing from 1 hour to the next.
That's the case in many places.
Some surfaces, and plants in particular, cool faster than the air.
This is going to be a doozy here, and it's dumping a lot of snow.
We could be looking at a major snowstorm.
Really be careful out there. And then across the south, as we go through the overnight, we are watching for the potential of heavy rain, frequent lightning. Also, we can see some damaging winds, and we can't rule out isolated tornadoes.
Because the cold air comes rushing in behind this system.
It is really going to be cold.
Even in the areas where we get mostly rain in this storm.
Our major winter storm is a huge problem this weekend. Take a look at that dark, dark blue. That's 2 to 3 feet.
And maybe even power outages.
There'll also be problems where there's a lot of ice because the strong winds will bring down power lines.
Overall, the probability of 1/10 of an inch of ice, which is enough to make roads almost impossible to drive on, the odds of that are pretty high in the Northeast and even across parts of the Midwest.
So we're going to see ice.
Purple, that means we could see some sleet or a mix of rain and snow, followed by the freezing rain.
Will be very tricky and dicey.
Quite a bit of icing, and that is going to weight down the power lines. Of course, we're going to see some of that ice get covered up by the snow. Hence, again, another reason to stay off the roads even after the precip stops.
I think that we want to be messaging to the public They need to be cautious, and they need to be prepared for the fact that there could be sudden changes both in snow accumulation and ice accretions.
Keep in mind, big changes when we're talking about the coastal areas
where you could see the rain, ice, and snow. It is very key that you stay on top of all the changes. Do not risk being out on the roads. I'm telling you, get to the store if you're ahead of Winter Storm Harper, get what you need and get inside and get toasty.
Also, we've got some very brutal winds giving us some really, really uncomfortable wind chill factors. Now, out ahead of this system, those winds pumping in from the south, that'll bring in some warmer air. But on the back side of this system, those cold winds are going to draw down that very, very cold air from Canada, and it is going to be extremely uncomfortable.
Because the cold air comes rushing in behind this system, even in the areas where we get mostly rain in this storm.
It is really going to be cold.
Dangerously low, below zero area wide.
So even once the snow ends, we're still going to have problems across this area.
A broad area of 1 to 2 feet of snow.
And then we'll notice the heavier rains take over even toward New York City. Heavy snows upstate New York, back into Vermont, New Hampshire, northwestern Massachusetts, and Maine.
Here comes the blue.
Look at all those areas in red. That's where we could see major flight delays. Now, as we look towards Sunday, once again, huge delays showing up. Power outages coming in.
And the temperature's still cold.
Extremely uncomfortable.
It might send you reaching for the heating.
Depending on your temperature.
This is going to be a doozy here.
Just to complicate things.
And it's a tricky forecast.
It remains to be seen just how cold it gets and for how long.
Hello there. Cold air has arrived and it's set to stay for the next week or more.
Be prepared. Batten down the hatches in your city. It's madness. It's madness. It's madness. It's madness. Danger. Dangerous. Days ahead. Winter is coming. Winter is here. Be prepared. Instant freeze. Door News 2019 Total Lunar Super Blood Wolf Moon Eclipse. I'm gonna howl at the moon. I'm gonna howl at the moon. I got blood moon fever. It's driving me crazy. You get politics, vampires, and idiots with every blood moon.
Last best hope against the coming storm.
If we don't put aside our enmities and band together, we will die. And then it doesn't matter whose skeleton sits on the Iron Throne.
The Great War is here.
Total lunar eclipses always look weird.